and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, two-time best-selling author, host of Authors on the Rise, co-host of the Tammy Collins Marquee radio show, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP, and vice president of sales and marketing for Melanie People magazine. Today we have a special guest. His name is Dr. Sims. A little bit about him. Relationship scientist Dr. Sims is a neuropsychologist, behaviorist, motivational speaker, and a leading authority on the neuroscience of relationships and sex worldwide. A licensed and certified relationship coach, counselor and marriage facilitator, body language expert with the Relationship Coaching Institute and the Prepare and Enrich program, Dr. Sims' passion is analyzing the neuroscience of love by dissecting why we do what we do from an eco, bio, psycho, social, spiritual point of view. Dr. Sims is also a member of the GGI network of neuroscience researchers and the resident relationship professor at the Optimind Neuroscience Institute, where he integrates the disciplines of cognitive neuropsychology, biology, anthropology, and body language to teach youth, adults, and corporations how to make wise, personal, and professional relationship choices. Formerly the relationship expert for Stevie Wonder's Hollywood radio station, KJLH, Dr. Sims has also co-hosted London's Love Talk. He is a recurring relationship expert on the UK's Real Love Show and has regularly appeared on Africa's Let's Talk About It, Virgin Islands Real Talk with Narcissus and Company, and LA's Talk Live Planet Love Match and Rambo Radio. Dr. Sims also has been featured in numerous publications and media programs, including Essence Magazine and National Public Radio, and he has served as the official relationship coach for the Tavis Smiley Foundation and Hershey Group. He also works as a relationship advisor and producer and director for the film industry. He speaks at correctional centers, colleges, and churches, and is penning his book series on the neuroscience of relationships. Welcome to the table, Dr. Sims.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. It is a pleasure, and I am humbled to have you on the show today, and I'm so excited to hear, all the great things that you're about to discuss with us today.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And I know I read your amazing bio, but I would love for you to tell the listening audience a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, you said it all. When I was listening, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I haven't heard it, the whole thing. And I was like, okay. But I could say why I got into the field. I started off as a vocalist in Chicago, and we had to show up with songs. And every time I showed up, I had these love songs. And my manager and the team, they were like, do you have anything else? I mean, this is about dance and, having a good time. And you're coming in with all of this and relationship songs and all of this. I was like, hey, that's how I feel. So I was so interested in wanting to know, wanting to talk more about relationships and why we do what we do. And from there, working in the film industry, that's all I used to write as far as the films or connecting with other filmmakers was always relationship theme type films. And somebody just said, hey, you should be one of these relationship guys. And so I decided to get certified as a relationship coach. And well, actually before that, just showing up at seminars and just a relationship person I wanted to get a little more uh, detail about relationships. And then I found myself just being in a lot of relationship panels and seminars where the majority of us was basically just talking about relationships as far as what we feel and not from facts. And I decided to go back to school because I really wanted to know more about why we do what we do. And the only way that I could find that out was to dig a little deeper into the science of it. And that's what just motivated me to separate myself from other relationship experts was to actually talk about the neuroscience of what's going on in the brain and in the body, what's really happening when we are in relationships. And this is how this, and you said it all again.
Awesome. You started off as a vocalist, and now you're one of the top relationship experts in the world. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
An awesome
Thank
journey,
you so much.
by the way. You are welcome.
Thank you so much.
So please tell, the listening audience more about your passion with analyzing the neuroscience of love, because, I'm very interested to hear, more about why we do what we do. And I know you studied this, and it's very important for our listeners to learn more about this and the neuroscience of it.
Yeah, as I started discovering that we were just saying things and not for fact, I really wanted to know just a little bit more. As I said before, I wanted to know a little bit more about relationships. So as I started finding out more about the science of it was just totally amazing when I would just hear things. For instance, you might hear me talk about this a lot. I talk about the kissing thing when uh, how is it possible that we end up being intimate really fast? I mean, there's several reasons, but one of the reasons that was really amazing to me was that when a male kisses a woman, she actually receives testosterone from the male's saliva, and that testosterone goes into the mesolimbic dopaminergic area of the brain, the ventral tegmental area, the caudate nucleus, the nucleus accumbens area. And this area is the pleasure center area of the brain. And when that testosterone goes into that area, this is the key to opening up arousal for women. This is what causes a woman to become lubricated, and what we call is tinting. And this is when the whole process of the vaginal canal begins to flood itself with blood, and the hypothalamus triggers the pituitary glands, and the pituitary glands triggers the ovaries, and from the FSH and the LH creates a follicle, and then next thing you know, you're ovulating, and when it's in that certain period when we're ovulating and you're receiving testosterone, this this helped me realize, and instead of being so judgmental, it helped me realize how people end up doing what they do as far as end up having sex on the first night, and it's like, wow, how did that happen when some of us um, actually feel that we have willpower and that we're really strong and we know how to say no? How is it that the strongest person that you would think is so strong end up losing that willpower? And it's based on a lot of our chemicals that we're just not aware of, that we have by the laws of nature, um, that we're playing with. It's natural drugs actually that we're actually playing with and don't realize how strong they are. and that how could this could put us in those certain situations. So from there on, it was just like I just became so passionate about wanting to share more information as to how things could happen and why we do what we do. Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. I mean, you said some great takeaways, how, kissing, why we do what we do when we're kissing and how we can be intimate really fast. And then also you spoke about, you know, how people end up, having sex on the first night, even the strong people. Could you elaborate more on that, on those certain chemicals that actually they're inside of us that actually pushes us to that level when we're thinking we're being strong, but then we're not?
Yeah, one thing that we have, both of us, we have the sexually dimorphic nucleus in the preoptic area, and that's our pursuit spot. The men's pursuit spot is a lot stronger. It's in our hypothalamus, and it's a lot stronger than the woman. But then we have to think about when it comes to just meeting each other. Uh, but, I don't know if you've ever heard of Helen Fisher. She's an anthropologist. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Came up with this way of how we fall in love, and she has this step where it's lust, attraction, and attachment. And I know a lot of people have heard that
Mm-hmm.
before, probably from her. And our sex hormones and our testes and our ovaries versus our testes and our ovaries, we both release testosterone. From the male releases testosterone, the woman releases estrogen, and starting with lust, um, it's so strong, and all of these chemicals that are being released, like oxytocin. I know probably now, we all have heard oxytocin, um, vasopressin, and phenylethylamine, what we find in chocolate, and these chemicals are so strong, and dopamine, where when we're playing with these things, you see, you've probably had friends that say, "Girl, I'm just going over his house, but I'm not going to do anything. We're just going to fool around, right?" And
Uh-huh.
then next thing they're embarrassed to tell you that they slipped up because these chemicals are so strong, and it has every right to be because they're there for a main reason, and that's to keep people together, and couples and married couples, to keep them together, and to also procreate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I answered your question.
You did. You did. You bet you did. But it also leads me into my next question. So tell the listeners more about the birth control workshop, and tell us more about how birth control affects us when we are dating or married.
Okay, I try to be as brief as possible with it because it's so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, birth control really minimizes the chances for someone to actually find the right one, to actually find the chemistry. And that's one of the major things that two human beings um, have when it comes to meeting each other is to establish chemistry, right? And when you're taking the birth control pills, that actually prevents you from creating that chemistry. And I'll just name a couple. Um, One thing it does is it mimics birth control pills, mimics the body into believing that it's pregnant. And when the body thinks it's pregnant, it actually stops everything that draws a woman um, to a man, or actually draws a man to the woman too as well. Everything that we have that we produce to attract each other stops on your end because the body says, why should I even use anything to attract a male when we're already pregnant? And
Mhm.
when we're not pregnant and we're trying, like again, like when you ovulate, you release a certain chemical called copulin. And when you release that chemical, this is something us males smell, and it has a major effect on our testosterone level. It actually raises our testosterone level, and we tend to trigger the pursuit spot, the sexual dimorphic nucleus in the preoptic area. So what happens is that you no longer that pheromone is not there when you are actually on birth control pills. So it's sort of like two. I'm using the word. I'm you know I hesitate sometimes to use animals in place because people go, oh, you're calling me an animal, but you've heard canine, female canines, dogs,
Mhm.
when they're in
Mhm.
what? Heat, right?
Right. Right.
And when they're in heat, you see the males go after them. Well, it's the same thing with women, and it's the estra. You have a scent that sends off, and it says that I'm ovulating right now, and I'm ready to procreate. And us men, we smell that. When we smell that, we also release a chemical called androstenone. And and again, that's another reason why we end up having sex in the first night because we both smelling those chemicals, and they're very strong, and it's it really takes a lot of willpower to fight that. So when you're not ovulating, I mean when you're not on the pill, your eyes also, your pupils are wide when you're interested in somebody. Your hips are expand when you're not on the pill during ovulation. Your voice pitch goes higher when you're not on the pill. Your hip to ratio change. Your waist gets smaller, and your hips try to come out as much as possible. Your what do we call it? Um, uh, your golden ratio and I'll mention that later. But yeah, all of these different things change um, as you are on the pill. It doesn't work. It doesn't. It stops. It says why? Why should I even do this when we're pregnant? Why should I want to attract a person? Because women also, I know I'm gonna get in trouble for this. The thing that I wanted to talk about was the symmetric symmetry. Your face, your face change too as well during ovulation. Everything that your body could do as a woman to attract a man um, will actually change, and for the better. It'll change like double. And us men, we don't realize what we are like asking you, like, oh my God, because at that point you are ovulating. And that's the first move that women make because usually women always ask me, should I make the first move? Is it wrong for a woman to make the first move? Biologically, spiritually, women make the first move anyway, because of all of those things that I named. Your body, the minute you walk out the house, actually, you're making the first move because you you're actually dressed to desire to attract a person. And during ovulation, that's the whole purpose of it. It's subtle. It is subtle. It's not as aggressive as men, but it's for us to pick up the first move and to make that move too as well. So all of those things stop. I mean, again, it's a lot more to the birth control pill thing, but being that you now are on the pill, there's been many studies and studies that I've been involved in, is that once you come off the pill, for some reason, you actually discover that that's not the man that you would actually normally would date or would have married. And there was many studies where they show the pictures of a little baby, of babies actually, and they would have them to grade them between 1 and 10 when they're on the pill. So they would grade them from 1 to 10. They would grade them like 9 or 8 or 10. And they came off the pill and they asked them to grade them again. And they graded them like 4 and 5. And then it was like, did you know you graded them at 10? And what was really happening is that they just really couldn't. So some people were just lying, and now what we're seeing is that this is actually having an effect on marriages where people are on the pill, get married, come off the pill, and now realize that that's not the person that they would have married, and they, for some reason, just aren't affectionate or wanting to even have sex with their significant other. This has been a major epidemic in Europe. The United States is just now starting to talk about it. Myself and a couple of other psychologists. I just saw somebody who just spoke about it in Washington, D.C. And I'm pretty much one of the major, you know, people that's really talking about this and trying to get it out there. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. So basically, you said some very awesome things. And some of the takeaways is basically what you're stating is if you're on birth control while you're dating or, getting ready to get married, or that is that you're not really creating real chemistry, right? You know, so it's not real. And basically once you get off, then you discover that that's not the man that you would have married or the person that, you would have dated if, you would have been off while you were dating them or, married while you wasn't taking birth control, correct?
Yeah, yeah. And again, I know other doctors help me out, OBGYN. Um,
Yes. Yes.
I know a doctor. She's like, you know what? I don't like birth control pills. See, I usually say I'm not anti-birth control, and she's like, I am, and you should be, right? She's telling me that I should be because there's so much more of what this birth control pill does, and I mean, not even I didn't even speak on depression too as well, and just the manipulation, so many other things that it affects the brain and affects the body, and it's just really amazing uh, the power that it really has. This hormone, and it's not really even a hormone. It says, that they think it. People say that they think they're taking birth control is a substitute hormone, but there's no hormone in it actually. It's not even synthetic. It's not even a synthetic hormone in it at all. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So
it's
that was,
pretty deep.
yeah, it is really deep. And when are you launching this birth control workshop?
The first one is going to be in May. It's going to be in Atlanta. And two, those of you who are hearing this and want to learn more about it, and I really recommend therapists and psychologists, as well as non-professionals in that field, in the mental illness field, to also, um, if you want to actually have me to come to your town to talk about it, please contact me. But yeah, it's going to start off in Atlanta, Chicago, hopefully Washington and California, several other places. So yeah, I think it's so important for us to really know um, what it's doing and how it's minimizing our chances to find that chemistry because there's really no chemistry there. But you say, well, how did you get together if there was no chemistry? Well, we are attracted to each other as far as what we have, and we also of our symmetric symmetry too as well. So you could look at a man and say, well, wow, he's handsome and I like him for, being handsome. But usually we hear people say we have good chemistry, right? And you will never know that if you're on the field because there's no reason for you um, to allow anything that that will open up chemistry because it's saying, why would I do that when we're already pregnant, right?
Wow, 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 wow. So, listeners, Dr. Sims is on tour, and he will be in Atlanta in May 2019, and he will be coming to Chicago, Washington, and California. If you would like him to come to your city, please reach out to him. Dr. Sims, can you tell them how to reach you so they can, book you?
Yeah. You could go to drryeal.com or the relationship sciences or Ryeal, Ryeal, relationshipsciences.com. You can also, the best way too, you can also just connect on Facebook with me and just, let me know from.
So, Dr. Sims, is it true that love is just a choice and not a feeling?
Whoa. Um, I hear that a whole lot. I heard a young lady one time. Somebody texted me a video of a young lady, and she was giving advice that love is a choice and not a feeling. I was really hoping that she finished the statement, but she never did. She stuck with love is a choice and not a feeling. Um, who we love is much of a choice as it is a feeling. Staying in love takes a commitment, right? And the thing is understanding the science of what love is, as I explained earlier about the lust and the attraction and commitment. And there's a process when it comes to love. It's love, falling in love takes no effort. Falling in love is really easy, but it's a difference between falling in love is a difference in being in love. Falling in love is a difference true love because when we fall in love, we experience all those chemicals that I mentioned, the phenylethylamine, serotonin, vasopressin, norepinephrine, dopamine. We get all of that surge of that rush of all of those feel goods that's going into our ventral tegmental area and the cutting nucleus, the nucleus accumbens, and our hippocampus and our limbic system and our prefrontal cortex, this flood of, oh my God, it's like totally awesome. This flood of, oh dude, she is so fine, man, it's like all of that, you get this flood of when we get together, there's nothing that's going to ever break us up. We're never going to have an argument. We're going to be perfect. The relationship is going to be totally different than all these other people who have problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, eventually, that rush of all of those chemicals will eventually die down. Back in the day, I used to say they would just die out, and that was the wrong thing to say because they just decrease. And this is when now you're like out of the clouds and you can really see that relationship as it is, right? And you actually hear, you actually see how your significant other handle other things and business and clothes, socks, food, or whatever. And that's when the choice comes in. The choice comes in now is once we have made the decision that we found that person we want to be with and commit to, the work begins then, and that's when the choice comes in. But to say, when I'm hearing people use this term, love is a choice, that's backwards, because you gotta be in love first in order to
Right,
make a
right.
choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't say I'm in choice with somebody, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and all of these chemicals that I'm talking about, you don't choose that. You don't have any control of that. That's why you know if you like a person or not, right?
Right,
That's
right.
how you make a decision and a choice. It's because of what you feel and what somebody makes you feel. And I've seen so many, man, I've seen articles that was just so well written to fool the very elect, because it really sounded and really made a sense. And I'm like, but you just don't know the science of it, because that's not how it works. You know, all of those things that we're talking about are feelings. You know, dopamine makes you feel, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you can simply ask a person, when you break up, when it's time to split up with a significant other, do you feel something then? Absolutely, right? You
Right,
definitely
right.
feel something. And when you feel those things, I just thought of something else that I want to say. It's so much. So even if I go back to something else too, um, but yeah, when you actually feel pain, and I just wanted to share something real fast. You know, the same physical pain, the same brain region that we associate pain with is the same brain region that we associate grief when we lose someone, when we someone is out of our lives, when we broke up with someone. And it's the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex. That's that's that you feel pain. You know, there was a research that they took several people who were actually in a breakup and that was dealing with the pain of a breakup. It was so amazing that they actually gave them aspirin, Tylenol, and they felt better than the people that wasn't on the aspirin, right? Because it's the
Mm-hmm.
exact same brain region that associates with pain, that stops pain. So it's really totally amazing. And there's there's other parts to to our brain. We have this uh, prefrontal cortex in our brain that's really, really amazing. And the prefrontal cortex, our dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex, and our ventral lateral, and our orbital lateral. I won't explain all of them, but
Right.
all three of these different brain regions is associated with things like decision making, right? Planning,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, sexual behavior, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when we're flooded with all those drugs that I mentioned, when we're flooded with those drugs, the amazing thing is that those brain regions in the prefrontal cortex shut down. And my point for bringing this up is that when you say love is a choice, you can't make a choice. You can't make a responsible, cognitive, adult choice at that moment, because all of those parts of the brain regions for your prefrontal cortex to reason, to make sense of something is not working right. That's why we do stupid things when we're in love, right? you know, that's why we do crazy things. I mean, look, if that continues, because the whole thing is this, I try to tell people to explain that when we use the term in love really should have been used for the second stage when I say true love. I would have loved that it had that was the word. Like when you say I'm in love, means the true love. Because you've heard this before. I love you, but I'm not what? In
But
love,
I'm not in love.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When people break up, right? When they break up, they're like, hey, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, right? Well, actually, that's what you don't want to be in love with the person. You want to go to the next step. The next step is being versus in love. True love is the step that you want to be in, right? So most of us think it's the in love. And then sometimes too, it's really dangerous because some people are addicted to in love. And that's why they're not in the relationship as long. Because remember when I mentioned some of those chemicals and those feelings start to decrease? This is the time to work on the relationship now. Well, when it decreases, people don't like the decrease, right? And they think that it means break up, right? It really means work on the relationship. It really means now this is where you make the choices. This is where you make the choices of the things that you're discovering about your significant other. But you're saying to yourself, I don't feel that, 100% burst anymore. And it's no different than someone who's on drugs because these are natural drugs, right? When you hear about somebody saying that they took the drugs for the first time or crack for the first time, they keep taking the crack because they're trying to reach that first high, right? And they never do. They just remember that first high was like totally awesome, and they're trying to reach it, and they're trying to get it, and they're trying to get it, and they keep doing it, keep doing it. It's the same thing what happens to people who are addicted. I mean, because we are addicted. When we're in love, it's an addiction. We are addicted to the person. That's why it hurts so bad, right? And just think about anything. Think about anything you love, anything that you love the most, and somebody comes up to you. Have you seen people chasing their cars when the tow truck comes and get their cars?
Yes.
Have you seen people hold on to their car, jump on their car, ride connected? Have you? Haven't you?
Yes.
I've seen it. And that shows how much you are in love to that thing. And you are addicted to it. And if it's being taken away from you, hey, man, it's the worst thing ever, right?
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So some takeaways from that is, you have to be in love in order to make a choice, and true love is the step, not in love. Those are great takeaways. So
absolutely.
Could you? Why do you think the divorce rate is so high?
Some of the times the divorce rate is because we do jump into the relationship so fast because we are, sometimes we get into it because of those chemicals, right? Because we actually are giving it a chance to die down. And again, too, when we talked about the birth control pill as well, and we really have to give ourselves that opportunity to really learn and to know more about our significant other. And then it comes to, communication as well and, just understanding relationships and how do we do this thing? A lot of people just don't understand how it works. And when we go into this relationship thing, I think it's so important to now engage more into the science of how it really works. And I think if we don't really know, we just jump right into something that we are really not familiar with. We have no idea. We just say, oh, yeah, just let it happen naturally. And I think understanding it a lot more and a lot better, we could have a more vitalized, harmonious, cohesive working relationship. Because it's really not a legerdemain, a prestidigitation, a magic trick. I think it's something that we could just take our time. And of course, I haven't even hit the surface of all the things that can cause a divorce. But those are some of the main works, right?
Right.
And I guess as we talk more, I'll probably mention some more reasons to, you know.
Awesome. So we all know that good communication requires us to be good listeners. So will you please share with the listeners some strategies to help us become better listeners?
You know, it's really good to be an empirical listener in order to correctly. But I wish I could teach people how to be better listeners. I say that there's a technique that we all have. I mean, everybody has it. I mean, I would really love to say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to communicate better, right? And I'm going to teach you how to be a better communicator and a better listener. But this is a technique that we all have because when you talk to someone and you realize that these people have graduated from grammar school, graduated from high school, graduated from college, the only way that you graduated is because you listen to the teacher, you listen to the teacher enough to understand the communication. And that is so important because when people say we don't communicate anymore, that's impossible. You do communicate. You may not communicate verbally, but you're communicating non-verbally, right? You're still sending messages non-verbally. So when we are listening in order to get a grade, we're listening to the teacher because when we don't understand the teacher, we raise our hand and we say we don't understand. But you are using your listening skills, and when you're listening to understand. All we have to do is use that same skill in our relationship. You have that skill. That's the skill that we have since we were born to listen to our parents, to watch our parents' body language. When we watch the body language, we realize, oh, that's what that means. Okay. And that's what that means. Okay. And in order to pass this class from third grade to fourth grade, from fourth grade to fifth grade, from fifth grade to sixth grade, in order to pass those classes, and in Chicago we went from 1 to 8, so we graduated in eighth grade, and then from eighth grade you go to high school, right? And you know, I see people every day that graduated 4 years in high school, and it's like the only way you did that is that you listen to understand, and that's the key to communication. The key, when people say the key to communication is, the key to a vitalized, harmonious, cohesive working relationship is communication. The key is understanding one's communication. Yeah.
That is awesome. Listen to understand. Yeah, that's big because a lot of us, some of us don't listen to understand, and that can, hurt relationships, especially personally, professionally, and spiritually. So we have to work on that. So why do you think that's so important, Dr. Sims, in a relationship? So why do you think that's key that we have those great communication skills and we're keeping it together?
Yeah, because understanding um, helps us to learn and to get to know our significant others better when we understand them. And it creates honesty in the relationship. Not only that, it also creates an environment of happiness and fun because the fun comes in as when you're communicating, you have you get this is a thing where you start getting really deep with each other because you're open and you can communicate, and this is part of love too as well. This is part of when you are in that true love is when you can communicate with each other, you can tell each other anything, and it's just a wonderful feeling. And you also again, when you communicate, you feel good with each other. That's feelings, right? So you're still experiencing that love. You're still experiencing that commitment, because it goes from back again. It goes from the lust to the attraction to commitment, right? And once you're
Mm-hmm.
committed, communication should be one of the wonderful techniques that you guys could use in order to trust and learn each other a lot more, because you get to really understand each other. And it's so fun. When I know I keep using the word fun, but the thing is that you know at one time in my life, I used to just want to talk to women, right? You
Uh-huh.
never listen to the person, but man, when you really get to the point where you could really communicate to really understand the person, it's totally awesome, because you learn, because you realize, you go, wow, I never thought about it like that. You're being honest to yourself right now, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
the joy of getting new information in your brain. That's why I love science. It's because it's new information in the brain. Compared to what I know nothing. What science is telling us right now. It's so much. I mean, I learned so much. I have to keep studying, right? Because we're learning so much about the brain. But when you're talking to each other, you learn from each other, because you're listening to each other's opinions, right? And
Yes.
you're not just their opinions, but you're listening to their knowledge as well, right? And they're sharing their knowledge to you, and you're hearing something for the first time, because you're like, wow, I didn't know you thought like that, or I didn't know you had that knowledge. You just didn't get a chance to get to that point, right? But then here you are now, so happy that your significant other taught you something. You're like, wow, where'd you learn that from? You know, you're like, oh,
Yes.
I got it, right, right. That's the
Yes.
beauty of it. That's the beauty of having this conversations and listening to understand, and not to have arguments. I mean, you're gonna have arguments sometimes too, and sometimes you're gonna just agree not to agree to, what is it, agree not to agree, what's the
Agree,
saying,
not agree to disagree. Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
disagree, yeah. But but the pretty much of it, that communication, man, could be so fun, and was the honesty of myself to actually say what right, because we don't want to say that you're right,
Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah.
and most of the time we don't we don't say it is because we're not really listening. We're not really I mean, we're listening, but we're not listening to understand. We hear you talking. We can hear you, because it's impossible that you can't hear. When people say you're not listening, they aren't listening. They're waiting. They're
Exactly.
listening for you to stop so they can jump in, right? But
Right.
they're not comprehending, and to comprehend and to really listen and to get understanding, like you're in class, like you're in school. People go, oh, well, I'm not in class. I'm not a child. It's not that. It's not about that. It's about being an empirical listener in order for you to respond correctly. And I can tell when people aren't comprehending, because you're not responding to what I'm saying. You're still debating with me, but what I just said, you wouldn't respond that. You wouldn't respond that way. What I just said. That's like me saying there's a roach crawling on your shoulder, and then you go, well, that's not true. Because let me tell you, like, okay, you're not comprehending what I just said, huh? Because I just said there's a roach on your shoulder. And, right? So
Yeah.
you can tell when somebody's not really comprehending, and it's a skill. You start really tapping into the skill that you already have within you. Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. The key takeaways for listeners is to listen to understand is so important. So, Dr.
yeah,
Sam, you've been featured in numerous publications and media programs, including Essence and National Public Radio, and so many more. Could you tell the listening audience how one can reach these goals?
stick to itiveness, never giving up. Just
Mm-hmm.
out, sticking to it, trying to figure out what do I do? How do I set myself um, different than the mask? Everybody else is out here doing the exact same thing. What can I do to, that people can actually see me and see my talent and see what I have. Tap into your own self, tap into your soul, and see what do you have to offer. Other than the same thing, what do you have that's going to make you different, right? And stick with it and just never give up. Yeah,
Yes. Never give up. That is so key to, just life. Just never giving up because that's the difference between a quitter and someone that is successful is that they never give up. They endure.
yeah.
Right?
At least you can say if you never made your goal, at least you can say you died trying.
Right. Right. So, Dr. Sims, you have so many great things going on. And like I said, we talked about some awesome things tonight. And you just have an awesome bio, great birth control workshop, and some other great things that are coming up. So, what can we expect from you in the future for the rest of 2019?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking more about things like the birth control pill, um, about why we do more, about why we do what we do, and I'm going to be just doing more seminars and more television spots. I'm also a counselor, so also if you're a couple and you really are looking for counseling from the science perspective as well as the general too as well. I'm looking to help more people this year. So if I'm not sharing my information um, on Facebook or a seminar or Instagram or somewhere, at least I can share it when I'm just talking to two people. I always ask God, hey, look, if I don't get a chance to speak to a mass of people, can you just bring me one? If I'm just on the airplane and can you just bring me one person that can just strike up a conversation that really need my help that I can help, right? So
I love it.
yeah, I'm going to be doing that more, and I'm going to be talking to more churches too. A lot of
Okay.
ministers are starting to hear and understand that. They're starting to understand. When I say science. Science is just merely the discovery of what God created, right? And some
Right.
ministers shy away from me and they think that I'm talking against, God, but no, all this stuff that I'm talking about is God. Yeah, you do have some neuroscientists out there that just don't believe, and I don't know how. That's just totally retarded. I'm sorry, totally crazy. We don't use that term anymore anyway. So I'm sorry. I apologize for anyone that's heard that term.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just crazy to even not realize that this is just it's merely of us just discovering what God created. That's all it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing the great things that he's going to do in your life this year. I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the show tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to inviting you back again.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it. Yeah, there's so much more and other things that I would really love to talk about this year. So I really look forward to it. And thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sims. It was a pleasure. I'm humbled and honored to be able to interview you tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I would like to give a special thanks to two of my mentors, Tammy Collins Marquis and John Schamberger. Also, I would like to give a special thanks to Dr. Larry White Sr. and author Kimberly McLemore. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _ Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.